What is going on? It's your boy Yimbo back with another action figure review. This time we are going to be looking at the Medicom Mafex Nightwing, the long anticipated figure for many of us, and as you can see right now, just going through the box art. Not gonna lie, it is a bit of a mixed bag, this figure, so let's get right into it. Not that I'm affiliated, but I bought mine from Big Bad Toy Store, and it is a genuine product. It comes with a flight stand. I don't actually use Mafex ones anymore, but they are handy if you are just starting out, or if that's what you end up liking. That's totally cool, but yes, it does come with a flight stand. And here is Mr. Grayson out of the package. Now, I'm actually going to be doing this review in two parts because I had that much of an experience with him. So right off the bat, this is just my early impressions. When I got him out of the box, he was a lot tighter in all of the joints than I anticipated. My Mafex X-Force Wolverine was a lot looser, almost too loose in some of the joint areas, but this guy was much, much tighter. So something that I will be going over later on is how I ended up loosening him up, so I will get to that. But yeah, right off the bat, very tight and oof. Now, that is my first major issue with my particular model. So it's always important to order something like a Mafex, something premium-wise from a trusted seller. Amazon makes it very easy to return products that might have a QC issue, and my experience with Big Bad Toy Store has been very positive. Ultimately, in the handful of times that I've had issues, they've always come through with an exchange or a replacement. They do stand by their products. So you saw him pop off at the torso. Yeah, I had a crack in the torso, and I'm going to get into that later on. And then you just saw me turning Dick's head, and it just fell off. Both of my head sculpts with this particular figure didn't have a tight fit. So any turning, boop, it popped right off. So fortunately, Big Bad did send me a replacement, but so this whole video is based on the very first Mafex Nightwing that I had in hand with those two major QC issues. But now we'll get into the accessories. You're already seeing the sculpt work is stunning. Even this head sculpt though, the angry one, had a chip in the nose and also above the eye. I didn't get into it during this particular filming session. It was something I noticed after the fact. But just looking at the sculpts, again, ignoring QC issues, it's spectacular. I do wish they included a third one with maybe a smile because, you know, love me a good old smiling Dick Grayson. But, you know, the two were fine. This particular baton hand attachment is really awesome. So it has the, you know, the spinning batons, finger positions are spot on, and it shoots really well for toy photography or, again, you know, shelf display. The way this works is there is a peg hole in there. That's what I'm trying to show off to you right now. And the hand has a peg off of the palm that inserts, so this way you don't have to worry about, you know, if you want, you can even use that spinning baton as like a throw type pose, which I haven't tried yet, but you know, it's certainly, the potential is there for it. Another incredibly cool but ultimately frustrating accessory are the wired batons. I really dig what I could do with it, but once again, this is going to be a two-part review. I had my initial unboxing, and then I'm going to do the follow-up at the end when I had some time to mess with him. But yeah, the wired baton is very nice to have. Again, lots of different possibilities for posing sessions and photography. And now let's take a look at the hands. So those are the baton holding hands. He came with the regular closed fists out of the box. And then there are the batons that port into that swappable back piece I had showed off earlier. And they look great. He's got some nice posing hands right here, and then some neat flight hands to get some of those acrobatic poses that Grayson is known for in the comics. And then he's got some splayed out posing hands too. So some nice variety and options to get the different emotions you want in a scene. And here's our boy in all of his glory. And now we're just going to take a look at all the different things out of the box in a little bit closer details. There's that back piece that can swap out to hold the batons in the back. It's very neat. And now we get into the buyers beware section of the review. I returned to the figure to give you a little bit more insight into the QC issues that I faced with this figure. Once again, I wanted to thank Big Bad Toy Store for standing by their products and for shipping me a replacement. But let's see exactly what the problems were, so you know what to look for in case you do end up ordering him, and just to be aware that this stuff could be a problem. So first up, the biggest issue that I had was that he popped off immediately upon doing any sort of dynamic ab crunch, but nothing ridiculous, just trying to get him twisting. But there's that crack that was inside of the torso that should not be there. It should be a complete circle. And then we have the head issue where it just slips right off. So it would pop on. It's not that it would shake off, but do you see how just a little bit of head movement in it? That became very frustrating, especially as a toy photographer, you know, making any sort of adjustments. If I had any sort of a scene set up and I just needed to tweak his head, all of a sudden, boop, it just would come right off and end up disrupting the entire setup. So that was big. And then I'm bringing him close here so you know, could possibly see some of the chippage that I had on his nose and above his eyebrow. And I know I mentioned in the first part of the review, but the joints were very stiff, which gave me a little cause for concern because of potential wear and tear on the leg pegs. So if you look in there, there's a nice little gleam of shine, and that is from the dabs, like literally a drop or two each of RC shock oil. I have it up in my Amazon storefront if you are interested. I would recommend getting the clear version, but I actually first purchased the orange one. The orange will be fine on all figures except for anyone that is white. I did find once a little staining on my Storm Shadow G.I. Joe Classified. I also added the drops inside the armpit there to loosen those up. But what's great about it is that it's not going to cause it to be super loose. It's just that now you'll get a lot more fluid movement. The poses still stay intact, but I can't stress enough how nice it is to use that shock oil to get that feeling, that nice buttery smoothness of turning, instead of where you were feeling before, at least I was, that it was fighting any sort of turning and like a grating type of situation. So I, again, can't stress it enough. I didn't want to go heat. Same thing with G.I. Joe Classifieds. I will usually use a dab of drop oil inside of their legs as well to loosen them up, to reduce that stress on the plastic of the pegs, the leg pegs. Now, what we're looking at here is the other little gripe that I had, where they left that little triangle. They didn't fully paint the butterflies right there. And I get why. Like, as you're seeing, it was to allow for the entire triangle of the suit design to be flush. But honestly, for that little bit, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no issue with it whatsoever if that whole thing was painted blue in there. And yeah, it does kind of make the rest of the design a little wacky, because you're not always going to get that triangle perfectly lined up in your posing. So see, like, I don't know. It was an odd design choice. I wish they just went blue for the entire piece of the butterfly joint. But yeah, see, like, little mismatched, misaligned. Very silly. a very silly design choice. But, you know, these things happen with our action figures. And now let's take a look at a little bit of the articulation that you can get with old Dick Grayson here. I know it's been told that it's on a Spider-Man buck. He's a little bit thicker. I still think that he could have been a little bit better. I guess that's not terrible. Again, initially without the shock oil, I wasn't able to get it quite as high because he does have the drop down hips. But, you know, you'll be able to get some nice Dick Grayson style split posing and acrobatic stuff. So I guess my initial impressions was through the eyes of disappointment. But now that I do have my replacement and my overall feelings are a little bit happier towards this figure, I've really come around on what you can get out of him. So we're going to take a look at some other little posing sessions here. As you see, like, you know, he can't kick his butt there. So, I don't know. I just thought maybe a little bit more for the type of character that, you know, Nightwing is. He is an acrobat. And I guess I just assumed that, you know, with Mafex, you'd be getting this supreme dynamic posing. But as I've learned, not all of their figures have that same level of posability. But again, nothing to get upset about, nothing to get angry about. You can get everything that you would want out of good old Dick Grayson. And now I'm going to walk you through a couple of other little poses here. If you enjoy this portion, actually showing the process of trying to twist them around, it's not the easiest way, you know, to pose up a figure behind the camera with your hands wrapped around, but I will certainly include more of this in future reviews. So leave a comment on the video below if you are interested in seeing more stuff like this, but just to show you what kind of posing you could possibly do and how to do it. Again, nothing to walk you through. It's just a matter of twisting him around, using my mental Rolodex of comic-inspired images, movie images, you know, just I've accumulated over the course of my lifetime enjoying the superhero genre and ultimately seeing angles and what my brain likes. See, like just get a little extra twist there, like I'm already picturing a bad guy getting baton in the face right there. So it's just a matter of playing around, messing around, and you know, right at this moment I am pointing out the fact that one of the positives, because I always like to look into the positive, is that they did continue the blue paint all the way down through the gloves and onto the fingertips. Like, I am very happy that they included that. I think that's a really nice part of this version of Grayson's costume. Alright, and now let's take a look at this wired baton. I wanted to try to see what kind of dynamic posing I could get out of it, and wouldn't you know it, another QC issue popped up on mine. Sometimes you just have to laugh because you can't make this stuff up, but as I was trying to pose him around in a pose that I had practiced off camera, the wire came out of the baton and it currently will not just fit back in. Now, it didn't snap off. I'm just going to need some super glue in there, but again, very frustrating that all I was doing was what you would expect to be able to do from an action figure, and yep, just popped right off while I was on camera. You can see me struggling here. Like I said, it will fit in, but it won't stay in, so I guess the glue that was in there came out, but yeah, bloop, there it is. So it does need a dab of super glue. I haven't been able to do that yet since recording this video, but I will. And again, he's a backup now, so just now something else for me to be aware of when I do finally bust open my replacement version. So I know I said it from the start, but this figure is a bit of a mixed bag. I wanted to love it with all of my heart and soul, and unfortunately it has the potential for a lot of issues. Even if you do get a quality perfect figure out of the box, there's still going to be these little nitpicky things that prevent it from being the quote-unquote perfect figure, which I think me and many people in the community had hoped that this would be the perfect Dick Grayson, and unfortunately it's not. So temper your expectations, but if you are a fan of the character, it's the best option out there. I have the McFarlane Teen Titans version, which again, also a very good one, but is out of scale for Marvel Legends and Mezco and the actual 6-inch figures. So this is your best 6-inch Nightwing that you can get your hands on. And at the end of the day, there is no perfect toy, so I hope you enjoy. And now let's take a look at some toy photography I was able to do with Dick. He is beautiful. It is a gorgeous sculpt. I can't stress that enough. And if you enjoyed this review, just remember that every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I stream about life and toys. I hope to see you there in the chat. Peace.